Well, for many of us, the new year signals resolutions along the lines of cutting out the fast food or taking up a new sport. But not for these two gentlemen on my right. And I'm not alluding to eating more kebabs or avoiding croquet. No, they have promised me their New Year's resolution is to take apart the bookmakers at the 2012 Cheltenham Festival. And that's what we'll be aiming to do in a series of Ante-Post forums leading up to the festival itself. We thought we'd start with none other than the Betfred Cheltenham Gold Cup on March the 16th. Of course, I'd like to say I'm joined by Graham Rodway and Nick Watts. So then, gentlemen, the 3 mile staying chase division, if you like, is turning into somewhat of an equine William Shakespeare play at the moment. You've got the legend that is Courto Star, who was about to be written out of the novel, has come back and usurped the hero of the previous chapter's long run. You've got the tragedy of Denman retiring, and you've got young blood in town looking to take the throne, the likes of Grand Cru and Captain Chris. It's thoroughly intriguing, isn't it, Nick? And well, we look at the prices of the big two. You've got 11 to 4 standout with Corals on long run. Courto Star, you can get 9 to 2. Start with, how do you assess? Well, very briefly, how do you assess those two? And at the prices, do they make any appeal?
Well, Cato Star would make a bit of appeal. I mean, if I was a bookmaker, I'd have him favourite, to be honest. I don't see how he could be otherwise. He's beaten long run very convincingly both starts this season. Like you said, he's come back, you know, from nowhere, from oblivion, really, from pulling up at Punchestown to come back and do that twice. I'm sure it's an age-related thing, the reason he's not favourite, because people are thinking he's 12, he's on the downgrade, but if you look at his last 2 starts, he looks as though he's anything but on the downgrade. And I think the main thing to take from those 2 races is that they've tweaked their tactics slightly on Cato, and I think they know now how to beat long run, and it's to use Cato's fantastic jumping. Get him out in front, get him clear, get him going hard, and having him massively fit before the race so he can do that. So get him out front, get him jumping, and you get long run in trouble. His jumping hasn't been good long run. It certainly hasn't improved since last season. You'd expect it to have done that as he's increased experience.
Under pressure, the wheels come off in that
They
department,
do,
yeah.
They do, definitely. And Tom Seagal's mentioned it quite a lot. You know, absolutely no disrespect to Sam Whaley-Cohen whatsoever, because he's one of the finest, probably the finest amateur jockey we've ever seen. But you put him and Ruby Walsh over the last 3 or 4 fences, and I'd rather have Ruby every time. And I think that's shone through in the last 2 races. So I couldn't have long run at this stage at all, even allowing for the fact that 3-2 at Cheltenham will suit him better. I'd have Cato Star out of the 2, but for my selection I'm going elsewhere, so I'm not avoiding both of them.
OK, well, we'll come back to your selection in a moment. And Graham, Nick's touched upon it. Courto Star's been magnificent so far this season. Of course, you've always loved, I know. Thing is, though, long run, 1/4 mile at Cheltenham, by all accounts, will suit him better. And nonetheless, though, his jumping has gone to pieces, and there's nothing to say that his jumping will necessarily be better at Cheltenham. The trip should suit, but his jumping may not be better.
No, the irony is that basically the way to get Cato Star beat is what Cato Star is now doing to long run. Basically, the way you get Cato Star beat is you go out in front, you put his jumping under pressure, you get him out of his rhythm, he blunders his chance away, and then he doesn't win. And that's what Denman has done to him in the past in Gold Cups. And in the last couple of Gold Cups, that's exactly what happened, even though last season he did actually run really well. But they've completely switched it around this year, and they've done exactly the same to long run. They've gone out, put pressure on long run jumping, given Courto Star a nice clear on the fences. He gets a nice easy time up front. He pings away like a good horse, and then he just stays him towards the finish. Really, I can't have Courto Star. I know that I've been against him his whole life, so why not change? Why change now? I mean, he's 12 years old. I've been waiting for a long time for him to go off the boil, and I've pretty much laid him almost every start, and I'm not going to be stopping in the Gold Cup. I think that some of his worst form has actually come at Cheltenham. I know it sounds ridiculous because he's won 2 Gold Cups, but if you look at his record at other tracks is much better. I would say that Cheltenham is probably about his 7th best track on his record. He's got several other tracks where he's unbeaten, or he's 4 from 5 or 5 from 6 even at Kempton. He's failed twice at Cheltenham. The only thing that worries me this year is that there's no Denman there to take him apart from the start. This will be my worry as layer, is that for me, it's very simple. I don't know which horse has got to do it, but one horse has got to go out there and ruin its chance by going off at a fast pace, and then they'll take Kato Star out of the equation. My worry is that they all sit in behind Kato Star and they let Ruby Walsh dictate up front, like Ruby Walsh has done in the last few starts. And if they do that, there's absolutely no reason why Kato Star won't just run away from them again, like he has done at Haydock and like he has done at Kempton. But this is the Gold Cup. I can't believe the jockey's going to be so stupid to let Ruby Walsh, one of the best jockeys of all time, dictate quite a slow pace, just like he did in the Kempton race. The time at Kempton was slower than Grand Cru's win. So it just shows you how much of an easy lead.
Is there an argument
Ruby
for
was
long run to
getting.
make the running?
If I was on long run, then that would be what I would try and do. For me, if you watched the King George at long run beat Kato Star last season, then Whaley Cohen had long run right up sides him all the way. He was always putting pressure on Kato Star's jumping. Kato Star began to make a few mistakes. And for me, long run as well, when you get him up in the lead, he gets a clear sight of those fences, he jumps better. And he will definitely outstay Kato Star up the hill if he's upsides him and going as well as him, of course. But if he's been off the bridle and Kato Star's still cruising and Ruby's been able to dictate, then Kato Star might well win. But this is the Gold Cup. I can't believe that Kato Star can get such an easy lead as he's had on the last two starts. So I've got to be against him.
Right, okay, so you're not backing Kato Star, and I'll take it for that reason you're not going to back long run at 11-4 now.
No, he's too short.
Okay, now moving on to those two then. Three major players, if you like, the rest of the market. Third one is Grand Cru, who really, is a novice. And there's some conjecture to whether he should run in this race or not. As Graham pointed out, Nick, the time at Kempton of his Felton win was quicker than Kato Star's. He's jumped like an old hand, and he deserves to take his chance, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think the owner was quoted as saying the other day that he's 70-30 in favour of running in the Gold Cup. So, that's quite a strong indication, and that's where they want to go. I'm sure David Pike is going to get fed up with questions relating him to Gloria Victis in the run-up to Cheltenham Festival, because, of course, Martin Piper's father ran a novice in the race a few years ago, a very, very good novice, Gloria Victis, and of course he unfortunately died during the race.
Yeah.
So it is a big decision for them. I don't think that should dissuade them from going, because every horse should be judged on his individual merits. David Pipe started this horse off at Cheltenham for his fencing debut. Statement of intent there, I think, from David. And he beat champion Court 10 lengths, who of course won the Dipper on New Year's Day at Cheltenham, so that form's very good. Looked solid at Newbury, if unspectacular, but again it was a great round of jumping once more. But I thought he was absolutely electric in the Felton. He was superb. But I think this horse has got everything. I mean, you take Big Bucks out of the equation from his hurdles races last season, and he would have been a champion stayer. Shows how good Big Bucks was. But he's taken to fences fantastically well. I've yet to see a mistake from him. And I think the way this race will be run will suit him perfectly, because I think there'll be a strong pace on up front. I think he'll be able to sit in behind and just get his jumping going. And I think he is the one horse in this race for me who could really take this field apart, because we do have a 12-year-old Kato Star, as we've just talked about a minute ago. We do have Long Run, who has problems with his jumping. I'd be very much in favour of him taking this chance. I think he's 9-1 top price with Coral. And if he can be held up and conserve his energy, he's got a fantastic finishing burst. He loves Cheltenham. I really could see him winning this.
Okay, so that's 9-1 about Grand Cru for Nick. Graham, the big other two, towards the top of the market, shall I say, Synchronised, the Lexus Chase winner, who I'd marked down stereotypically as a mudlark, and then drops back to 3 miles and pulls apart some decent opposition over on slow side of good in Ireland. Can he translate that to Cheltenham on good ground at Spring again, do you think?
Well, it's funny actually, because we did a Welsh National Forum
I remember this, yeah.
a few weeks ago actually, and I think I said that on heavy ground, Synchronised could win a Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Probably a few raised eyebrows at that point. But now that he's come out and won the Lexus by so far on good ground, over 3 miles, which is completely baffling, because all his best form's over further. A £5 better performance than anything else he has ever produced on Racing Post ratings. So he is improving, according to Racing Post ratings, on ground that really shouldn't have suited. I think the problem that Synchronised is going to have is he's not a bad jumper, but he's quite slow at his fences. He can be a bit ponderous, and that is why he needs a bit of cutting the ground. So I think if the ground comes up heavy, then it'll do him a favour because it won't put so much emphasis on his jumping. But in what I'm expecting to be a strongly run Gold Cup, I can't believe that it's going to turn into a sprint. Then I think that he might get left behind on his jumping.
And it's synchronised now. The Welsh Grand National winner and Tony McCoy are striding away to win the Lexus in great style for JP McManus and John Joe O'Neill. It's synchronised, who's clear. In second place, Ruby Light.
Okay, and good stuff. And we'll move on to Captain Chris, who price-wise has tipped at 20 to 1. You're singing from the same hymn sheet, and there's people singing from lots of different hymn sheets on our social media sites. Twitter page, we've got William Kenjani says, if Long Run can jump, then he can outstake Auto Star, but it's not hard to see Captain Chris improving. Gary Waters says he's backed Captain Chris at 20 to 1 within half an hour to King George. He's a spring horse, and the only thing that conceivably beat the big two, in his opinion. He hates to say it, but we have nothing in Ireland, and he will definitely finish in the top 5. And then from a different hymn sheet, as I mentioned, James Reynolds says, Captain Chris, all the sheep are on, and I think the sheep are going to be lambs to the slaughter. I'll take it he's a vegetarian. So, yeah, Captain Chris, though, Graham, the key points have been mentioned there. He comes good in the spring, he loves Cheltenham, and he loves good ground. So I presume that is the logic you're going from.
Yeah, my argument to James Reynolds would be that at this time last year, would you have picked him to win the Arkle after he'd been beaten by Gizeo twice, when Gizeo was giving him 10 lengths at Newbury? And then even when he got beaten by Medemir at Sandown, you still wouldn't have said he would have won the Arkle. But the bottom line with Captain Chris is he improves for a bit of spring ground, and as the weather gets hotter, he seems to get better and better as the season goes on. And I just thought that his King George run was a massive run. I thought he ran a great trial for the Gold Cup. He was sort of off the pace, but he wasn't miles behind. But then as they come away from the stands for the first time, he got pushed about 7 wide on quite a tight turn at Kempton, lost a lot of ground. Then he had to use up a lot of energy to get back into the race on the side of the course. And then he was still sort of there, turning for home. But where he'd used up all of his energy, he had nothing left, and he faded in the manner of maybe a non-stayer. But I'm not worried about his stamina. I know that he's unproven over the trip. But this all...
You're confident he'll stay?
Absolutely crying out for 3 miles plus last season, without doubt. I remember Matt Williams, an old colleague of mine, once said that if Captain Chris was anywhere near them coming down the hill at Cheltenham in the Arkle, then he would definitely be backing him in running, because Captain Chris is one of the strongest stayers in that race. And I could not agree more with those comments. I'm absolutely certain he will stay 3 mile, 2.5 furlongs. I've absolutely no doubts about that. And if he can make the similar sort of progression that he made last season, through the midwinter he wasn't great. He was getting beat by Gizeo. He was comfortably beaten by Gizeo, getting £10 at Newbury. There was no way he could beat Gizeo in the Arkle, but he completely reversed the form in massive amount of style. He had loads in hand that day of Gizeo at Cheltenham. Then he won at Punchestown. He had an interrupted preparation before the King George too, so things didn't go right for him. He's got a lot of ground to make up, but he did it last year to win the Arkle on Gizeo. So why can't he do it this year on Long Run and Auto Star if things drop it right for him? I don't think that 16 to 1's a bad price. I know that you're going to say, well, a lot of people have already got on at 20s. And I must admit, personally, I backed him at 25s a long, long time ago after he won the Arkle actually last year. And I'm hopeful that he comes good. But I still think 16 to 1 is a fair bet.
OK, brilliant stuff. So you're with Captain Chris. One line on the rest of them, beginning with Time for Rupert then, Nick.
No, not good enough. Doesn't matter if Dennis O'Regan or Will Kennedy's riding him. No chance.
OK then, that's that. Weird Al is next in the market. Tom March says, out of the big 3, Weird Al offers the best each way value of the rest. You quite keen on that?
Yeah, I don't think it's an outrageous suggestion at all. I'm not going to say that Weird Al's going to come and win the race. But
25 to 1.
25 to 1 for a place. I've seen worse horses than that finish in the frame at Cheltenham. Seems to have improved a lot for going to Donald McCain. Really good win in the Charlie Hall earlier in the season. He should be a shorter price than Time for Rupert is on that form. And I didn't think he ran a bad race in the Betfair Chase, considering he's best after a long break. He backed up quite quickly, and he's only a few lengths behind Long Run there. He didn't look out of place. So I think 25 to 1, like I said, I'm not suggesting he's going to win it, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he crept into a third.
Jesse's Dream, Graham?
Oh, Jesse's Dream was one that I was quite keen on, but it's been shortened up a bit in the market after Gordon Elliott said that it's definitely going to be back. It travelled like the best horse in the RSA last year. I thought it probably should have won that race. I think 25 to 1's a bit short for an horse that you've not really yet to see, really.
It's going to have one spin over hurdles
when
and
you
go
can,
straight
when you can
there.
have 16s about Captain Chris, I think Captain Chris is the better bet.
Quito de la Roque.
No, I'll do a wide sweep of the Irish runners here. Jesse's Dream, Quito de la Roque, Ruby Light. I can't see an Irish victory in the Gold Cup this season from any of them.
Now, my long shot for the race, and one that Lee Murray is also weighed in with. I'm being tentative here, but What a Friend is 40 to 1. And he says, at the moment, What a Friend is super each way value. Mighty run last year, no Denman this time, and Nichols is going to have him trained just for that one race. I can see the argument there, and that earlier on I looked up What a Friend's record when fresh. All his best performances come after a long break. By all accounts, Nichols is thinking of sending him straight to the race. On last year's form, he was a nose behind Corto Star. I mean, surely I'm not mad to suggest 40 to 1 is the most insane each-way value in the history of the Cheltenham Gold Cup, is it, G1?
He's an absolute rogue, isn't he?
He is.
Put it nicely. I think the reason that he finished so close last time, I think he was only beaten a neck by Corto Star last season for third, was simply because they put a pair of blinkers on him and it freshened him up, you know, and got him sweet again. And then he disappointed next time in the blinkers and the Grand National. Then he was really disappointing first time out when he was fresh over hurdles, beaten 35 lengths by Restless Harry over hurdles, and that was over
He was
hurdles.
found to be sick after that.
Yeah, well, fair enough, but I mean, I'd be surprised.
Okay then, well, so we're going to weigh in then. Nick, you're a Grand Cru man.
Yeah, definitely Grand Cru, massively keen on his chance. I really hope they go for the race, and I'm going to be against G-Rod with my each-way selection, and that Weird Al's going to creep into third.
Okay, so there's the two for Nick, and then Graham to sum up.
Yeah, Captain Chris, I think is a good bet. Probably each way at 16s. I think he'll be in the places.
Okay, brilliant. I will be wearing my Corto Star scarf with pride, but I think a Nichols runner in What a Friend, 40 to 1, worth a fiver each way. So, well, many thanks for joining me, gentlemen. Thank you for watching at home, and see you all again soon.